The Film Row is a wonderful memory for me when I was a kid, because movies were magic. And that was a place you could go and see them before anyone did. And kind of was what really got me interested in movies.
But its history is more complex than that. A lot of that is sort of lost history and even forgotten history that's only just recently been sort of revived and brought back to people's minds. Just in 1907, when it used to be called the Oklahoma City Film Exchange District. In that area, which encompassed an actually wider area than just the 3 blocks or so that they're calling Film Row, there were these little houses of commerce that were run by the various movie studios that you think of from California. People are always surprised to find that we had such a thing in Oklahoma City and that it operated for so long. MGM, who did the great, Wizard of Oz movie and all that sort of thing, they were over there. But maybe most important to us, Paramount had a facility over there, and it was a place where theater operators from all around the Midwest could come to buy things they needed for their theaters, whether it was posters, seats, whatever, but most importantly, they came there to decide which films they wanted to buy, show in their theaters.
Linda and Phil Griffin, and their father owned the Paramount distributorship and owned a bunch of theaters. I remember being invited by the kids, Phil and Linda. They would have evenings at the Paramount Theater, and we would go down and see movies before they were sent out to theaters.
There were actually just 4 screening rooms. There was 20th Century Fox, Paramount, which is still there, Griffith Theaters, and MGM. Those were the only actual screening rooms. But there were a bunch of film offices and even, or so legend says, some film studios, like sound stages, where they could actually shoot stuff. Because people did make movies in Oklahoma. It sort of reached its zenith maybe at some point in the 50s and 60s. And then slowly but surely what started happening was the film business started changing. There was this guy, Steven Spielberg, who decided that he wanted to release his new film in a sort of a different way.
Spielberg said, why don't we send them out all on one weekend? Send out 3,000 prints.
He wanted to do it as a big summer blockbuster, which hadn't really been done before. And the movie was called Jaws.
And they said that's more than $4 million just for the prints to send them out.
He came up with this idea that it would be released in a whole bunch of theaters at once, which wasn't how they did it.
He said, well, I think it's a good experiment. Let's try it. And it was a huge success. And so now that's the norm.
Some of the studios that went defunct during that period, I'm sure closed their offices here early on. Yeah, there was a lot of consolidation during that period, a lot of bankruptcies. There was no longer any need for these regional film exchanges. So by the early 80s, they were essentially gone, and most business was getting done out of wherever, out of Los Angeles or New York.
And because they're being shipped directly, air freight, to these different theaters, they don't need the film exchanges anymore. And so that started drying up, and the buildings just went away, deteriorated and rotted. And a guy named Chip Fudge here in Oklahoma City bought all those old buildings down on Film Row because there's some wonderful history here. All these buildings where all these movies used to come in and be watched and set out. And let's try to get the film community to sort of build up that area again. And so he started enticing people to come in and rent space.
And there's so many good things I could say about Film Row, and especially the Paramount OKC. But some folks who come down have been a little put off by, the homeless element. definitely people who go outside to have a smoke, to smoke a cigarette, will get approached by someone who's like, hey, can I bum a cigarette? And then maybe the next question is, hey, can you loan me some money? And because these are folks who are down on their luck. Sometimes they're mentally ill, and it's disturbing sometimes for people to see someone walking down the street talking to himself or talking to the air. I don't know of any incidences that have happened down there with any of the homeless people, but I think that it can be a little off-putting. But I think that Film Row will be very special, and when more people know about it, more people will come down there to sort of embrace the film history and to see the latest films. But also the 48-hour film festival that they do each year is sort of centered around Film Row.
The Dead Center Film Festival is there now. They've rented space, and a lot of little movie production companies and ad agencies have come in. And
when I'm over there in the afternoons on Saturday, sort of the quality of light that comes through their big windows in the afternoon, there's just something really beautiful about that light. And you know, as the sun starts to go down in the wintertime and whatnot, you think, oh, this is just the perfect place and whatnot.
And so it's becoming kind of a hip little community for filmmakers.
Use a friend.